going through with my infertility and the decision to have children or not. There's a lot that we talk about and share. It's like hanging out with two besties that are just sharing what's going on with them. So buckle up and let's get started.
Hello. Okay, so we're back with a life update episode, which, I did not expect everybody to enjoy so much, but we get so much positive feedback about these episodes.
Yes, it's so fun. And for those of you who aren't following on social media, or if you want to know what's going on in my life, because I'm not ever on social media, this is the time.
You know what? Not everybody is, it's okay.
Oh, oh my gosh, I should post this. You know how many times I took pictures during the Christmas holiday season? I'm like, look at this cute time that we're at the lights, and like, here we are at the tree. And like, I just don't post them. I mean to, I intend to. And you know what happens is I think about it, and that's enough. And then my brain's like, you did it.
And it's the thought that counts.
It's the
Your
thought that
brain
counts.
tricks you
But it's like,
into thinking you did it.
I think in my mind, like, I did that, but then I didn't actually happen in real life, but I think it did. So I feel complete, but I didn't actually do it. So in
Well,
my
that's
mind,
okay.
you guys are seeing all my holiday photos, but they didn't actually make
You're
their way
just
up.
being really present to the moment. And I am like so routinized into it. Comes for me, it comes from the years of Snapchat. I loved Snapchat, yeah, in like 2016, 17 so much. And I would just like, I take pictures through Instagram stories and then I save them from that a lot of the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of the habit loop that I have. And so then yeah, anyway, so I share a lot more. It's okay. But you know what? This episode is where we're going to break down what's been going on with us.
Yes,
And
I know, but let's start with you because you have some really big updates.
yeah, which I guess if you don't follow us on social media and this is your first time hearing about it, I am pregnant again with our fifth baby. And it's very exciting. I know if people have been following the podcast, then they've definitely heard me discuss the idea that we were going back and forth. We were trying to figure out, do we want another one? Well, I mean, I decided that I did. Um, Even some of the things that were cons to me, like postpartum and breastfeeding and all the challenges and issues, kept kind of falling to the wayside. And still, what was lasting as a thought in my head was that we have an opportunity for one more because of my husband's age. I know that we could just keep going because it's not as much.
Yeah, why stop now? You might as well just keep
Yeah.
at it.
Well, because he's 44 now. And I mean, unless we had a very short gap, which I'm not a fan of short gaps, very outspoken about that because the one time that we had a less than 2 year gap was so hard. And maybe it wasn't because of the gap, maybe it was other reasons, but I like a 3 year gap. And so then what? I'd be getting pregnant again when he's like 48? Like, no, we're not, and I know people do that. I do. And for us, because we already have so many kids, like if we had started our family so much later on in life, we could consider that, especially given like health status of him. If it was in a good place at that time, go for it. But so for us, it was like, all right, he just turned 44 in September. We have like an opportunity for one more baby. Do we bring him in? And what's really unique about this time is that I felt no like spirit baby connection whatsoever. And I still don't. So for a year, because I kind of started to feel this way, like, oh my gosh, maybe I do want another baby when Sunday was turning 1. So it's been a whole year um, prior to conceiving this fifth. And I, for 12 months, have tried to put out little feelers. Now, okay, I'm not like the most spiritually connected person or somebody who feels all the things, but with my babies, like in my life, the times where I've had the most like woo woo, strange, weird spiritual experiences has been pre-conception of my kids. That's been like where it stands out to me. And I've had some really weird experiences. And then as soon as they're in my body and I'm pregnant with them, it's like radio silence. Like I get zero connection or intuition. Like I love them cognitively, but it's not like I'm continually talking back and forth with them. Um, but I can be kind of sometimes before they come in. And so I try to like send out little feelers to this baby, like, hello, are you there? Do you want to come in? Is there anybody even there? Because there wasn't that strong presence in the way that there was before Sunday came in. Like she was so loud, she was so obvious, and it was scary to me because I actually did not want another baby. We wanted 3, we had our 3, we were done. She was very adamant about coming back in and so glad that she did. But with this one, it was just so strange. And so then even like getting into the months closer where we were kind of deciding like, okay, my health stuff was getting better. So that was the other huge factor for this was I had Lyme disease and EBV that I was trying to clear that I didn't know that I'd had prior. And I did actually end up passing it on to Sloan and Sunday. And so they're in treatment now and it's going well. And it's not like a huge deal for them, which is good. I don't hope, at least. My doctor feels really confident that treating kids with Lyme before puberty is a really big deal in comparison to after puberty. It's almost like their bodies never had it. So like in terms of long-standing repercussions and things. So anyways, I was clearing the Lyme very quickly. I mean, I was on a very heavy protocol for like 5 months, 6 months. And so we were kind of like, all right, I could see how in the winter there will be a time where we could try again if we wanted to. And so Wes was the one who is still not so sure. And it's so funny because now he's like, Moses, I was never like that anti having the baby. Like I know. And I'm like, okay, I have so many
I
witnesses
have
and
video footage from my Instagram stories.
yeah, exactly. Like where he would just say things like, I'm so tired, like blah blah blah.
Have you checked
Doing
him for Lyme? Could because you can sexually transmit Lyme, right?
no, we haven't checked him blood test wise, but when he went to the same doctor, it didn't come up on her machine. But some EBV did actually for his. We need to do the confirmatory test for him, but um, which again doesn't surprise me because like making out and stuff, who knows. But anyways,
Mano
so
y
then
mano.
yeah, exactly. So then we were like, all right, let's open up the window for a couple of cycles, and if it doesn't, and I did feel a lot of peace with this, also expecting that potentially my mind would change once we did start the trying process if I didn't get pregnant. Like maybe I would be sadder about it, but the plan was let's try for these like next three cycles. And if we don't get pregnant, then we'll just be content at having four. And there was lots of pieces about being content at four that I liked, that felt good, that felt complete, and it was so fun. It was just like such a high note, it was kind of like, it's like I didn't really want to go out on like such a high note, although that's what you're supposed to do. You don't really want to be like bitter about it. But I'm like, oh man, I mean, now that they're all so much older, I've been really going off about this on my Instagram lately about like when they're older, it just feels it's so different. You can really see how these big families work. And it all becomes so much easier and they're so much less dependent upon you in a physical way. It's more like cognitive and schedules and logistics and things like that. And that is important too. Obviously, you need to have the bandwidth for it. But to me, the hard years of little kids is like when they're drawing on the carpet, like Sunday did last night, all over my carpet with a marker that doesn't seem to be coming out, like is not a waterproof marker or
Yeah,
like a water
it
something.
didn't look like a waterproof marker. It looked like one of
Nope.
those cheap ones that, oh
Yeah,
no.
or water washable. Yeah, it's not really coming out. But that rug is so gross. We need to replace it anyway. But I'm just like, oh, okay, great. I mean, it happened right in front of us. Leah and I were sitting on the couch and she's like, oh no, she's drawing on the floor. But those like little days where everything is crazy and chaotic and then they don't understand, they don't have reason. You're watching them because they're putting stuff in their mouth and like they don't, play independently necessarily or whatever it is. Like you're so much hands-on physical care for them. And then it really does just change. And so having Sunday in the family too was so much fun with the older kids that it was like, we could do that again and then we could be done. We can close this chapter. And so, anyways, really long story short, for us, and this is where you and I are just like such perfect yin yang people. It is so wild, actually. As time goes on, it becomes more and more apparent.
I
Like
know.
things that are hard for you are easy for me, hard for you. It's so weird, but like fertility is not a struggle for us at all whatsoever. So I totally recognize that there's lots of people that will be listening to this podcast where infertility is part of your journey, and I am so sorry, and I do really wish that you will get pregnant ASAP and so soon. And I just also say that like, everybody has their different struggle points. And for me, it's not fertility. Um, that does have its own issues later on when you're like, well, now we want to not be getting pregnant anymore. How do we stop
Totally.
that? But so it happened right away. I got pregnant. I was really surprised, although I don't know why I was surprised.
I know. The fact that you guys are surprised when you've gotten pregnant like the first try every time. It's just like, nope, that's literally what you
That's
are.
just the way that it goes. I guess I'm just like, wow, that's all okay. Like it's just kind of this shocking thing where you feel like you have like all this power at your fingertips and you're like, wow, that's almost kind of scary because if there's ever a slip up, like there's a
Oh yeah.
baby.
Like one
Either
time. You guys have sex one time and you're pregnant. So
yeah.
there might be seven children or what, no, this will be six. If you had got pregnant again, you'd have six. Yeah. There
Yeah,
might be
if there
six
was
by
another one
you.
we'd have. Yeah. So got pregnant and I was worried. Oh, but I got pregnant right when I was so sick. I have never maybe ever been that sick in my life. I'd never had bronchitis before. And I don't think I've ever had pneumonia or maybe like when I was a child or something like that. But I've never experienced that like wheezing, shortness of breath where you're rapidly breathing, where you feel like, okay, maybe do we go to the hospital? Like I have never had that. And I basically like ovulated and a week later I went on a trip to visit my friend in Portland. And so I was on an airplane and this is in the middle of November and it's just like sick season. So then I came back and started getting sick. And then I started testing. I was testing from like day 7 past ovulation, which is too early, but I wanted to catch it. Like I knew I was going too early and I wanted to catch if there was a line and like when it happened and blah, blah, blah. And so I got a positive, I got a very faint whisper that like you couldn't see on a photo, but you could see with your eyes. I thought that I could see with my eyes, like my line eyes on day 9, but it was definitely positive on day 10. Or maybe, sorry, maybe the whisper was on day 10 and the strong positive was day 11. I don't know. Either way, I was like so sick that day that I got the positive, and the next day I was like maybe considering going to the hospital. So it was in those couple of days right when I was getting a positive where I had a fever. So I took Tylenol because you do not want to have a fever in pregnancy. It stayed around like 101. It wasn't getting that much higher, but still it was lasting like 12 plus hours. So I took a Tylenol twice, um, always around like nighttime so that I could sleep better. And Tylenol at that age or phase of development is not part of the concern of the neurodevelopmental disorder stuff, that like that study has shown to be an issue. Also, it's still the only medication you can take when you're pregnant. Like ibuprofen would have been my normal choice, but in pregnancy, it's just not the medication. So I did try.
Is it because it's teratogenic or what? Why?
Yes, there's an increased risk of miscarriage, and then later on, if in like the third trimester, it can cause heart defects.
Oh, wow. God, I feel like that's not a very commonly known thing. Did you know that while 97% of women take a prenatal vitamin, over 95% are still deficient? That's why I love recommending Needed's prenatal. Unlike most prenatals, Needed doses nutrients in the right forms and amounts that go above and beyond to really support both mama and baby. I actually worked with Needed for years. We spent over 3 years researching, working with practitioners, and really intentionally choosing every single nutrient form and dosage that's put into the prenatal. And now we have the data to back it up. In an IRB study, they found that the women who took the Needed prenatal had higher blood levels of key nutrients like vitamin B6, vitamin D, vitamin B12, riboflavin, vitamin K2, and selenium, compared to women who are taking a regular prenatal. Even more powerful, only the Needed group had significant amounts of vitamin D in their system, which is essential for supporting the immune system, bone development, blood sugar, blood pressure regulation, and so much more. This study reinforces what we've known for a long time, that real nourishment really makes a difference, and the proper nutrients support fertility, pregnancy, and baby's health. Needed isn't just aiming for adequacy, they're supporting what's possible. No matter where you are along your fertility or pregnancy journey, Needed is what I recommend. Head to thisisneeded.com and use code HEALTHYMOTHER to save 20% on your first subscription order. Again, head to thisisneeded.com and use code HEALTHYMOTHER to save 20%. Okay, now back to the show.
Quarantined myself, but I was so certain it was going to blow through the whole house. I was stocking up on everything, telling Wes like, okay, hopefully I'll be in a good spot by the time you guys get this because this is not good. And no one got it. So I think it
Might
hit
have
me
had a
totally. That's so true. And I also think maybe it got me particularly so badly because for implantation to happen, your immune system does have to drop. It has to have this momentary suppression so that it can root. And I think it just was the perfect storm. Something was brewing. I picked it up on the airplane and then now pregnancy and like, wow, it was crazy. So, anyways, I was very nervous about the whole way that that went down because I have had a miscarriage before from a situation where I got very sick in that early, like first week of pregnancy. And so I was really triggered by that. And I was also like, what are you going to do? That time though, that first time that I had a miscarriage was I had like 103-degree fever for multiple days. I didn't know that you shouldn't reduce it. I was just trying to rock out my fever. I had like the flu. So this time, I did everything I could, and I did go get my progesterone tested for the first time in my entire life,
I know.
which I know
Blows my mind.
irks you to no end.
It does irk me. It irks me so much. It's like having your best friend be a baker and be like, I just ate a cookie for the first time in my whole life. Like, really? Of all the years that we've been friends, you've never eaten a cookie. Like, how?
Okay, so then when my progesterone test came back, it was like really high, which I was at 4 weeks. And the reason I wanted to get it tested was just sort of in general curiosity, but then also when you get sick like that, it can really affect the way that maybe your progesterone would rise in the face of a new pregnancy. And so I was like, okay, I might need a supplement this time, which I never have in the past.
When
Um,
and you have a history, you've had two miscarriages, right?
yes.
And so it could have been progesterone that time. That was what I was thinking. And so it's just always better to check and see. But I was shocked at the robustness of your progesterone. I'm used to working with women and fertility struggles and pregnancy loss. And so I was not used to seeing a progesterone that strong, which is probably why you're so fertile. Like something about your body is just very fertile.
Well, I mean, it's interesting though. So it was 29.5 at like the day I turned 4 weeks.
That's insane. For reference, we want it above 15. In the conventional model, they say above 10. Most women that I check around 4 weeks would be in like the 18, 19, 20. The highest I've ever probably even seen is like 25. And most women who struggle with pregnancy loss, it's like 15, 14, 16, like around there or lower, obviously, because then they lose the baby. But that's as high as mine was when I was taking progesterone, and I have a strong progesterone on IVF. Did you know that while 97% of women take a prenatal vitamin, over 95% are still deficient? That's why I love recommending Needed's prenatal. Unlike most prenatals, Needed doses nutrients in the right forms and amounts that go above and beyond to really support both mama and baby. I actually worked with Needed for years. We spent over 3 years researching, working with practitioners, and really intentionally choosing every single nutrient form and dosage that's put into the prenatal. And now we have the data to back it up. In an IRB study, they found that the women who took the Needed prenatal had higher blood levels of key nutrients like vitamin B6, vitamin D, vitamin B12, riboflavin, vitamin K2, and selenium, compared to women who are taking a regular prenatal. Even more powerful, only the Needed group had significant amounts of vitamin D in their system, which is essential for supporting the immune system, bone development, blood sugar, blood pressure regulation, and so much more. This study reinforces what we've known for a long time, that real nourishment really makes a difference, and the proper nutrients support fertility, pregnancy, and baby's health. Needed isn't just aiming for adequacy, they're supporting what's possible. No matter where you are along your fertility or pregnancy journey, Needed is what I recommend. Head to thisisneeded.com and use code HEALTHYMOTHER to save 20% on your first subscription order. Again, head to thisisneeded.com and use code HEALTHYMOTHER to save 20%. Okay, now back to the show.
Wow. Well, okay. So because you were so shocked by it, I was like, maybe I have twins because your progesterone does go higher when you have twins, like if you ovulate two eggs. And so then I got in my head about that. And actually, for the first time, I was sort of excited about twins, which is so weird because I've never been one of those women who's like, oh, I think twins would be so cool. I'm always like, okay, cool, have fun. Like breastfeeding twins sounds horrible to me. Um, as somebody who has like massive breastfeeding issues, that's probably why. But so then I was like in my head about all of the symptoms I was having and stuff. And anyway, I got an ultrasound. So I'm 11 weeks now. I got an ultrasound at 7 weeks and confirmed there's just one little baby and a heartbeat. So I really wanted to see like, is there a baby there? Which I thought there was because I was having so many symptoms of like nausea and fatigue and out of breath and smelling everything, like classic stuff. But anyway, yeah. So, and then now I'm 11 weeks. Oh, and yesterday or the day before, I felt I would bet all my money on the in the world that I felt the baby move for the first time because Sloan was, what'd you say?
That's crazy. I didn't feel Avia till 20 weeks, and I think Cade similarly.
I bet you felt Kate earlier. I feel like people do feel them earlier. No, I felt Savi at 11 weeks on an airplane once. I remember that.
Insane. That feels like so early.
It is so early, but Sloan was leaning. I know there it's like an inch and a half long. It's very small, but she was leaning on my abdomen and her shoulder was like really pushing into me. And it was right underneath her shoulder that I felt this kind of like little like boop. So then I started paying attention. I was like, whoa, that was weird. And then I started paying attention and then I felt a roll, like a like a little like slippery fish, tiny, but so obviously like that feeling, of a baby. And I haven't felt anything since, but I think it's only because she was probably like pinning the baby in my
Yes.
uterus. Poor thing. Hey, you know what? That's what you get for being born fifth. So, anyways, I overall, though, this pregnancy has been a lot gentler on me than Sunday's pregnancy. And I don't know why. Oh, and by the way, in case you missed it, we did find out that it is a girl again. So, four girls. Oh my gosh. Gage and the Girls. It's like a band name. So, I mean, and he actually, a lot of people are very concerned about Gage in this process, which is so sweet because he did have a very negative reaction to finding out that Sunday was a girl and was sad and mad and was telling me all kinds of crazy things. Let's see, he was just turned 7 at that time. Yeah, and he was like, I'm not gonna look at this baby when it's born. I'm gonna hate it, and you're gonna get pregnant right away again. You're gonna have another baby, and da 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 da. Like, he was really having his feels those couple of days, and it dissipated and whatever. But he just has always wanted a brother, and honestly, I've always wanted a brother for him too. And if I could have chosen, I would have chosen a boy for a couple of different reasons, but more for that, I think, than anything else. And it's nice because on this property we do have the cousins, the older male cousins. So I have a 13-year-old nephew and an 11-year-old nephew, and then a 9-year-old one too. So there is this like older pack of boys that rolls around, and that is a lifesaver for him, I think, because otherwise it would be and he's a very guy's guy type kid too. He he's all about the sports and very all the dude stuff. So he and Wes are just going to be little besties. But he did say to me he's visibly a little bit disappointed in the like gender reveal video. But then we talked about it right afterwards, and he just kind of looked at me. He's like, I'm actually not as disappointed as I thought I was going to be. I think because Sunday, like he just has had such a fun experience as with her as his little sister, and he thinks she's so cute. And now recently he's been doing her bedtime routine. So like he sings her the songs that I would normally sing her before she goes down in her crib. So it's You Are My Sunshine, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and then Baby Shark. And she makes you sing the entirety of Baby Shark, like Baby Shark, Mommy Shark, Daddy Shark, Brother Shark, Sister Shark, Grandma Shark, Grandpa Shark, Let's Go Hunt, Run Away, Safe at Last, like the whole thing. And so he's been doing it and he's been having so much fun with that. And I think he's just kind of resolved. Like, I did have lots of conversations with him too, this whole last year, being like, if we have another baby, I just want you to know it could be another girl. And also, you guys would be like 10 and a half years apart. Like, it's not going to be what you think when you think about having a brother by your side. Like, not until you were adults would you really have a kind of deep relationship. So, it is what it is. But one thing that's interesting is that on my video, so with the Sneak Peek is a blood test that you can order to your house, and it's an alternative something like the NIPT, so the non-invasive prenatal testing, which I've never gotten the NIPT, and I personally just don't want it because I don't want all the other information that it has about the chromosomal risks for a couple of different reasons. People are like, "Why would you not want that?" And I understand why people would, but here's my thoughts on that: is that first of all, it would not change. I wouldn't get an abortion. It wouldn't change the way that we deal with the pregnancy. I also have seen so many false positives on the NIPT that then stress women out or leads them down a slew of interventions like amniocentesis and different things where they like have this sense or belief that there's something wrong with their baby for potentially the entirety of the rest of the pregnancy, and then everything is fine at the end. It also sometimes doesn't catch stuff. So I'm just like, you know what, at the anatomy scan, if there's markers that are concerning that would maybe be consistent with like Down syndrome or some other chromosomal thing or congenital, then we'll take it there and we'll do the further tests we need to do then. But at that early phase, I don't want something getting in my head, and it wouldn't change my plans. So you just have to know yourself. Now, the NIPT is much more accurate for the gender like aspect of that test. I've never known an NIPT to be wrong, maybe sometimes, but that's just not really how that test works. The Sneak Peek, however, can be wrong. And usually, though, it's wrong in the way where if it says boy, there could be male contamination from somebody else in the house, like a partner, a son, a dog, a male dog. So, like when you're taking the test, potentially like in the air, their cells were floating in the air, a piece of hair got into the test, something like that, where Now the lab goes and they try to pick up on the Y chromosome. And if they don't pick up on the Y chromosome, then they just report that the baby is a girl. If they do pick up on Y chromosome, they report the baby's a boy. And so people will sometimes get false boy positives on the sneak peek when actually their baby's a girl. But if the sneak peek reports girl in the absence of that Y chromosome, the baby's almost always a girl. But I have had so many people write me now in the last 24 hours being like, no, my sneak peek said girl, and then at the anatomy scan, it was a boy.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, wait, what? So now I have it in my head that there's this potential that this baby could still be a boy. And I don't know. I would be like totally floored. That would seriously put me on my ass of being like just shocked and surprised. But it does happen every once in a while. I'm not banking on the fact that it's probably going to happen to me, but I guess it's possible. So we're going to just go forward with that.
Okay, one thing I have noticed about you is you're talking slower, which is
Oh my
something I
God,
haven't
really?
pregnant.
Well, I'm out of breath.
Well, so when you were pregnant with Gage, so for anyone who's been listening to the podcast or hasn't been listening and doesn't know, we've been friends since I was 19 and I'm almost 36. So it's been a long time. And when you were pregnant with Gage, you were really weird. Like, so, because, your natural state is very high energy and just vata, high energy, lots of energy. That's just how I'm going to describe it. And when you got pregnant with Gage, you were my first friend who was ever pregnant. And I was like, what is happening to Morgan? She's like dying. You were so quiet and recluse and like internal and just slow. And I was so confused. I had never seen someone change so drastically. And you might not even remember.
No, I do. I remember feeling depressed because I was like, what is this? And I wasn't actually sad, but I was so internal and in my head, and everything about my life being an extrovert has been external. And like, it was the first time in my life where I would just sit and listen to people talk and not talk to them.
It was very weird. And I was just thinking, I just remember that experience thinking, wow, this is crazy. And I was like, does every pregnancy do this to every woman? Because I just didn't know. We were in med school. I don't feel like it was as much with the girls though. And I just don't feel like you were as
Oh.
much as you were with Gage. For my experience of you, it was
I agree. I think for sure the first time was the most significant, like for sure. I do remember being on the beach though when I was pregnant with Savi and I hadn't told anybody yet. And Ellie, one of our colleagues and friends from school, I told her in that moment and she's like, I knew you've been acting weird, like blah 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 blah. And I also remember one time being with Dr. Dr. Airy at an event and she was like 20 weeks and she was standing up against the wall and not talking to anybody and she was like, I think I gotta go, I can't be here. And it was like, it's just, so I call it pregnancy introversion and I don't know if there's actually.
and that is progesterone. So progesterone literally
Oh.
does that. That's why women in their second half of their cycle, when progesterone is higher, usually want to be more inward and they're more sensitive and they're just like not as extroverted. They don't have as much energy because that's what progesterone does. Literally, that's the role of it is this internal reflection, this calmness, this tired. Like that is the role of progesterone. And then you have so much of it when you're pregnant. And given how high yours was during your first 4 weeks, my guess is that you probably have more than even normal women. It just like really calms you down. Um, but there's other factors at play too, but that is the hormone that does that.
Yeah. Okay. So another thing that's odd about this pregnancy, or not odd, but different, I guess, than at least my last one. I have a hard time remembering all the details of Savi and then Sloane's, but for Sundays, it's easy to compare. And I was so emotional in her pregnancy. Like, I cried every day. I was like mad. I was sad. But I also was a lot more nauseous and I puked a lot more. I've only puked 3 times this pregnancy so far. And they've all been like weird pukes where I was. I wasn't like walking around really nauseous thinking, oh my God, I'm going to puke, I'm going to puke. And then I went and I puked. It's like, I'm kind of normal. Maybe I'm feeling a little sick, but it's not even like nausea in my stomach. It's like in my upper throat and I will gag. Like I can't control it. It's like a dry heave that just comes out of nowhere. And I gag like 2 or 3 times and I'm holding it back and I'm breathing slowly. And then I go to gag again, and except it's not just a gag. There's like full puke there. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm just like,
Especially like the calm, the chill. Like you're more like Gage. That's what I've
yeah.
noticed just with your pregnancy. You're not like super calm, but I know you well enough that the cadence of how you talk, I would either think, wow, you're really tired, or yeah, like you're pregnant. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, there you go. I don't know. I guess we'll see. We have 8 more weeks before that. But yeah, so this baby's due like early August, late. I mean, one due date says like, July 28th. One of them says August 1st. So probably looking at an early August baby being born after my due date, like, sometime in the first week of August, maybe, which will be so cool, not having a winter or fall baby. And yeah, I mean, that's my life update is just being pregnant over the holidays. Honestly, if you want your first trimester to go by really fast, get pregnant in the very beginning of November and then have all of the holidays and two kids' birthdays to go through because it's made it feel, I cannot believe I'm 11 weeks. Like, I have a full on bump, my belly button's out. I'm like, what is happening? It, it drug on for so long, those early weeks with Sunday's pregnancy. But again, I think it's because I was so much more sick. So, anyway, I'm feeling very like happy and excited and also now on the journey of finding a name that doesn't start with an S that with like maybe an S middle name, but we just cannot do it. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't like a pattern we were trying to stick with. It was just names I genuinely love, and I tend to be very attracted to S sounding names, but we trip over them constantly. It's so hard. It's already such a mess, and I'm like, we can't keep adding to that. So if anybody has any name suggestions, I'm open and all ears.
Amazing. Submit them
Okay,
on Morgan's Instagram.
electrolytes are trending, yes, but they have been in need of our human bodies for all of time. And if you're drinking another popular and delicious salty electrolyte, here's why you should be drinking Relight instead. First of all, have you ever considered the salt source of these other brands? Because most of them just use table salt. Yeah, table salt. You don't want that. Redmond's Relight Powders uses their unrefined ancient sea salt that they mine in Utah. This salt source contains 60 plus trace minerals along with calcium, chloride, potassium, and magnesium in two different forms, glycinate and malate. The minerals that they use in the Relight powders are all in the appropriate proportions and forms, too. The metabolic needs of pregnancy, healing postpartum, and milk making require more minerals than in other times of your life. Pregnancy itself demands huge increases in your blood volume, which takes, more minerals. Relight is the perfect blend to be sipping during your pregnancy or during your labor even, and especially while you're breastfeeding. It tastes amazing and my favorite flavors oscillate between mixed berry, lemon lime, and the strawberry lemonade. But you can try a sample pack and try all the flavors for yourself and see what you think. Use code HEALTHYMOTHER to save 15% on your entire Redmond order. That includes their OG sea salt, other seasonings, bentonite clays, toothpaste, and more. Yes, okay, tell us about you.
Well, I feel like my life update isn't as exciting. I don't
No, I
know.
think your life, what, Leah, you have so much to say about what your life update is.
Wow, I hope you remind me because as I'm sitting here, I'm like, wow, I don't know if I have anything to say. But I would say first and foremost is Cade, our son, sleeping is still a problem, which is a bummer. He is 13 months and he has 13 teeth. So he's basically been teething his entire life since he's been born. No, he started teething at 3 or 4 months, and
Which is early, though. That's so early.
is early, and he has had big developmental leaps too. Like he was walking at 8 months, and he's just been struggling ever since he's been born. He's a very happy baby, but sleep's just been hard. And I've noticed he's very sensitive, which just could be a boy thing. That's what my mom says, but is kind of like, um, I don't know what you call it when people are like, oh, it's because he's a man or whatever. I'm like, mom, oh, condescending. It's very condescending to men,
Oh,
but it is so different than my daughter. My daughter could like fall over, get hit in the head, and she'll just like pop up and be like, it's okay, it'll heal. Like she doesn't even cry. And I'm just like, what is going on? You can cry. And he, barely trips and is just full on wailing, just cannot handle himself. So I think it's a blend of he really is struggling a lot because he's got a lot of teeth and he's been sick a couple times. And also he's just so sensitive that any tiny little thing is just a really big deal for him. And it's hard for him to like soothe himself. So that's been a bummer because he's been teething and then he's been sick a couple times. And over the holidays, we got that crazy influenza A, or that's what I'm assuming it was. They both had fevers, and then his turned into croup, and then he couldn't breathe, and he was having really bad inspiratory stridor where, it sounds like they're kind of trying to breathe through a straw, and then it's like this wheezing-y type sound. And so we tried to hold off as long as we could, but eventually we had to take him to the ER and do a breathing treatment, give him steroids, which, I hate having to do those kind of things, but I also want him to survive and not be able to not breathe. So it was just a lot of sleepless nights of him being sick for almost 2 weeks and him not breathing and, just being up worried about him that he couldn't breathe. And it's just the sleep saga has continued, it just I never feel like I get a reprieve from it. It's either teething or he's sick or whatever. And now we're back home because we were in Colorado for the holidays. And just, I think it's a habit now because I was sleeping with him during his sickness, making sure that he could breathe and like almost like propping him upright. And he's just so used to now being in the bed with me. So he wakes up 2 or 3 times before, the early morning hours, like 3 or 4. And then he just won't go back to sleep on his own in his crib. I'll go in and feed him around 11 or midnight and then 2. But then after that, he doesn't want to. So I'm now kind of half co-sleeping with him, and it's just a lot. I just don't feel like I ever get a break into sleep, and I'm still functioning, but barely. I definitely.
I feel like you're functioning so well. I don't know. Normally, like my perception, if somebody had told me 2 years ago, Leah's gonna have a baby where this is how little her sleep is, I would be like, oh no, because you need so much sleep to be a happy person, but you don't. First of all, you look great. You don't look tired at all. Second of all, I've okay, just for anybody who doesn't understand that reference, anytime I ever tell Leah that she looks really good, she blames it on the makeup. Araza, which is a really good makeup brand, honestly. It is. And we'll put our link in the show notes there because it's natural and it makes you look amazing. But that's just such a funny thing. You always say that. It makes me laugh every time. But you also just don't even seem tired. Like you don't seem sloggy around. You've done so much change for your business in the last couple months, like as if you're getting a full 8 hours of sleep every single night. I don't know how you're doing it.
I honestly don't either. I honestly think it's because I have a high functioning thyroid. So
Yeah, you do.
that is a thing that I have, and I actually I have Graves in my family. I do not have full blown Graves disease, but I definitely tend toward higher thyroid than lower. And I
Meaning, like, just so for people who know thyroid, like your TSH is low, you have like high free fractions of thyroid hormone.
have more circulating thyroid, and thyroid is what makes you have energy. It's what makes you lose weight. It's what makes you have hair, skin, and nails. Like my nails grow like crazy. My hair grows like crazy. I lose weight very easily. I don't gain weight. I have a lot of energy. It sounds all great. And it is when you have it in a healthy balance. If you have too much, though, obviously that's a big problem. And if you have Graves' disease, it's a really big deal because you can't like stop it. And so you have to take medications or get your thyroid ablated. And hopefully that never happens, knock on wood. But I do tend toward more thyroid. It's the only thing I can imagine is holding me together. That and, just having a good diet and stuff. But a lot of people have good diets and don't function.
You have an impeccable diet, though.
You're sweet. I mean, I've been eating a lot of sugar. I was telling you that
You do not. You guys, Leah will eat. Leah came over to our house yesterday and she's like, "Ah, I'm going on a no sugar thing." And I was like, Leah, you don't even eat sugar. This is what Leah thinks it means when you eat a lot of sugar, is that you eat like one whole cookie in the day.
yeah, but every day.
Okay, Leah, one cookie probably has like 10 grams of sugar in it.
Well, no, I would make like a batch of cookie dough and eat almost all of it in a day. Like,
When do you do that? I don't see you do that.
because you don't live with me. You should though. Remember we used to live together.
I
I
do.
don't know. I just because I'm so hungry, I really need to eat more fat. It's challenging because I don't feel good when I eat a lot of dairy
Mm.
because I get a lot of gas and digestive issues, and that is where so many good healthy fats come from. And so I think I just need more fat. Breastfeeding, I'm just so hungry all the time, and I'm just like, I need sugar. And then it changes your microbiome. And so then the gut bugs crave the sugar, and then you have yeast and all this stuff. And so it's like, I don't know. During pregnancy and postpartum, I don't care. I just eat whatever I want. And so now I think my microbiome is just set up where it's like, whoop, we definitely want that, but it's okay. We'll get there. I'll get there. Yeah, the sleep thing is tough. I mean, today I feel very chaotic and disorganized. If I feel like I'm really good at holding it together in like the public, not even the public, but like I can hold it together, I can get it together, but in the back end, I feel like it feels chaotic. Like today, I was like late to our talk. My computer was dead. I needed the charger. I'm like trying to help my nanny, and I feel very overwhelmed. And it's magnified because I'm tired.
Mm.
And there was a time when I was still co-sleeping where I was not safe to drive. I was falling asleep. So yes, I think it is crazy that I feel like I'm doing as well as I am, but it comes out in little ways, like little. I'll be more snippy with Mike, and who knows? Of course, that could also be for other reasons, but. Um, I definitely would love more sleep. That would be a dream. That's
Okay, question for you then. What is your plan with sleep training him?
Well, so right now he is currently not sick nor teething, it appears. So I have 1 week until my mother-in-law comes into town, and so we're probably going to try to do something like that. Except I, ugh, I'm just so sad when he cries. I have such a hard time. It was
I know.
easier with Avia. I don't know if it was because she was younger and then she just learned it sooner and then it just wasn't a deal. It wasn't a big deal. Or if he's just such a bigger baby or it's because he's my little baby boy. I don't know. It's just,
She didn't cry. She was like, she just got it. I don't know. She was so Kapha, and he's Kapha too, but
she would soothe herself with her fingers, which is
yeah.
now a problem. And we're going to have to fix it. And that is stressing me out. I would say, other than my business being in complete upheaval and I'm redoing every single thing about it and it's so stressful, which I know I did to myself, but I don't even know. That is just like a whole thing. So look out for fun, exciting things coming because I have a lot of things coming. But right now I'm redoing everything. My biggest stress is like my children's health. There has to be a remedy. Maybe I need phosphorus. I think I
But your children are healthy. What are you talking about?
like the fact that my daughter sucks her fingers and I think it's affecting her sleep. And she has like dark circles under her eyes and she's
Mm.
so tired all the time. And she's always flopping her arm and she's like, look, mommy, I'm tired. And I have a really hard time knowing if that's because she's really tired and there's something wrong, like she has anemia or a thyroid issue or she's just lazy. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the difference. I'm used to working with people who tell me the truth and don't like tell me like things that aren't true. And so if a human adult comes to me and they're like, look at my arm, it's like floppy and tired, I'm immediately like, oh, you probably have anemia or you have a thyroid issue. And we did do blood work on her. I'm waiting for the pediatrician appointment to see what's going on. But I'm like, is it because she's not sleeping well? Because she's mouth breathing and like all of these
Mm.
things, and she has gut stuff that's going on. And she's never had antibiotics outside of being born C-section. Yet her gut feels so terrible. And then I feel guilty because she's eaten a lot more sugar because I've been eating sugar because I've been hungry. And then she eats what I eat because we like do it together. And I feel like she's not thriving as much as she should be for everything that I know and for how, like, I just feel like there's some things that are off. And then with Cade, also just like the sleep training and just the teething in his mouth and like him going to the ER and having
Mm.
all of these things. It's just like that stresses me out so much more
Yeah.
than just my loved one's health. That's phosphorus. Homeopathic phosphorus is very stressed out by loved one's health. And I think I should take some. I might do that today.
You're phosphorus in a lot of ways.
I am. Yep. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm
Oh my God, me too.
like there's a stranger. There's a stranger in the dark, lurking in the dark. That's such a phosphorus thing, and that's always been my biggest fear. But yeah, most overwhelmed by loved one's health, and I think it's why one-on-one care in practice would stress me out because then they would almost become like my loved ones, and then it would stress me out. It's just like one of my patterns. But anyways, back to the life update. I sleep is something I'm going to work on and we're going to have to, I don't know, the sleep training is going to be so challenging. I don't even know if any advice you have will be helpful. And then business wise, I'm just shifting so many things that it's been a lot. It's been so much at the same exact time. Um, Hiring new people, changing my website, changing all my courses to a new membership platform, working on new courses, having new branding, new everything. I mean, just all of it. It's just been a lot.
It's so much more than I think anyone can ever imagine unless you have a business and then you do everything for it. Like just making one type of change. I mean, that's why I haven't had my new rebrand of my 6-week pregnancy call course done yet. And it's going to be great when it's done, but the amount of work that it takes to even just make one slide deck, like one new slide deck with a new rebranding, it's astronomical. And it's from my brain, and I'm not going to use AI, and I couldn't even use AI even if I wanted to. Like I still have to physically do it. I want to do it in my words and in my way and with my information conglomerated, and it's just like that just one thing, or changing a password to one aspect and then everything changes, and then you can get logged out and then you can't do it, and then you're on customer service and then blah blah blah, and you had this like other plan for the day, and the entire couple hours chunk that you had to work was spent on something you completely didn't even plan for. It's nutso. It is not for the faint of heart.
And right now I'm doing a brand new website, brand new course software, brand new email system, brand new freebies, brand new email sequences, brand new social media, brand new staff, brand new one-on-one appointments. I'm bringing on new like signature clients. Like it all happened at one time all over the holidays.
Yeah.
So that's been one thing. But other than that, I don't know. Are there any other updates?
Yeah, you're getting really clear about like with your, like financial planning stuff and manifestation stuff.
I joined a finance course, which was awesome. I did this astrological reading with a friend of ours, which, whether you believe in astrology or not, I think is so cool and powerful. It's Hindu, or not Hindu, Vedic astrology, so from India. And it said in there that part of my karma are things that would be important for me to work on is mastering finance. So I joined a finance course, so that was cool. And I was really into that in the fall, and I want to get back into that. Everything's kind of fallen off the side. I have a new course, a little mini course that I'm launching coming up all around manifestation and creating your dream life. And it's integrating all of the things that I do on the back end. I do a lot of this kind of stuff on the back end, but don't talk about it that much. So I'm excited to share that and just everything that's happening. So a lot of new stuff work wise. And then, yeah, I feel like I have a big update around my painful sex and things like that, but maybe we should save a whole episode about it because I feel like there's a lot to go in there.
Yeah, let's do that because I think people will really appreciate hearing about your success there because it also extrapolates out. Like I'm thinking of the breastfeeders too. So it can extrapolate out into multiple populations.
Yeah, and then I'll have more info before we do that on treatments and what's safe if you're breastfeeding and things like that. So that's another big update. So stay tuned for that because I've had some big shifts and changes there. And other than that, I'm feeling really excited about year 2026. I know podcasts live on for a long time, but we just shifted from the year of the snake to the year of the horse in Chinese medicine. It sounds like I'm like really into all these things, which I am. I am into like Chinese, calendars and astrology. And I just think patterns are interesting and being able to look at our life and see similarities and just how things all fit together. And so based on my Vedic astrology, I actually have a different sign than my Western astrology. But when I plug it into everything and see what's happening with the world, it feels like it's going to be an exciting year. And so I'm just trying to lean into that and not overexhaust myself and still be present with my kids. It's a constant battle. I feel like I'm constantly juggling everything, and once you toss one ball up, the other one's falling, and you're constantly catching it. And looking back, I try to remind myself all the time, and I tell Mike too, I'm like, these are the golden years. Like, these are the years we're going to want back. And sometimes when I'm really annoyed with my daughter, when she's sitting on the toilet pooping and she wants to tell me a story that goes on and on and on and on, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I need to go do something else. I'm like, just be present with her. She's not going to want to tell you this forever, and I'm trying to soak it up because I feel like I already have grief of what I've lost before I've even lost it.
Mm.
And I guess it's in a good way because there's a lot of people that don't have that mindset, and then they look back and they're like, "Oh, I wish I would have like been more present or like paid more attention." I'm trying to be as present as possible. I know how fleeting it is being a nanny and other things, but also how lucky we are to have our children when it's been so hard. Oh, that's the last update. I know we've like gone to 50 minutes, but I'm still trying to decide if we have more kids or not. And that's maybe a whole topic for another time, but the answer might be no, I don't know. I have a lot to like think about and sort through. And the idea, like if I had pregnancies and births like yours, it would be
Yeah.
not even a thought,
Yeah.
Um, like the idea of choosing to be pregnant means almost a year out of my life. I'm basically out of my kids' lives, my current kids. And that is really sad to me. And I know in the grand scheme of things, it's like not only a year, but it's also like the most precious years. Like I imagine right now, Kate is 13 months, and let's say we transferred our third embryo and it miraculously made it, and like we were pregnant with a third baby. I would basically be bedridden for like the best years of his little life. And like that's really sad to me. And, it's just not anything that I thought I would have to like think about. And then I also have more fear. Like you don't think about your kids having issues or it being a factor, and that's amazing. And I love that. And it's probably because it's not meant for you. It's probably not even in your vortex or anything. And I don't know why I have that thought or that fear of, having a child with challenges or issues, or, if I just see it a lot being in the fertility space or what, I don't know. But I have that thought too of like, I have two healthy kids. Like, I'm so grateful. Do I really want to push my luck? And, is this going to be a challenge or whatever, which all children are a blessing no matter what, even if they have challenges, but just like, is that something that we want or that we're ready for? Is that something that's meant for us or not? And I've just had a few insights from different intuitives and people on, not knowing if this third embryo that we have is the healthiest. And that makes me nervous. And then to go through IVF again and make more babies, then I have more embryos that I won't be able to make into children. And that's really sad. And it's much more complicated than just, I know you have your own struggles, and it's not like, oh, you have this thing and so therefore I'm upset. It's like we all have our different things, and it's just a different thing when you have infertility and you have to go through all of that to make those decisions. And when you have hard pregnancies and hard births and having a third C-section, it's just different things that I have to think about that would maybe be different if it was just easier. But that's, again, probably a whole conversation for another day, and I'm still feeling into it. But it's like, oh, you look at your little kids and you're like, oh, they're so sweet and precious. I want more of them. But I just don't want, just like you want to be handed like a 6-week-old or whatever, like you don't like the newborn stage. I love the newborn stage. I would just like, give me the brand new baby. Like, I don't want to be pregnant. I don't want to go through infertility treatment or be pregnant or give birth, which I guess is adoption, right? But it's like, I don't know if that's meant for us either. And so like, I love the baby the minute they're born is like the biggest joy of my life moving on. But everything before that is just not that. So I don't know. It's up in the air. We're just still feeling through it.
Oh, it's so much more complicated than just like, yeah, we want to, in certain cases. And I totally recognize that for us, we lack a lot of that complication. And so
Yeah, but
I
that's
don't,
okay. I mean, it's not
I
like a
know, but it's
bad
like,
thing.
I just don't exactly know what that's like for you. And I wish that I could like share some of the burden off of you because yeah, something I've said to you for years is like, okay, well, if we don't think that this baby's right, then like, let's do it again. And but then it's like, oh, okay, $45,000. And yeah, as you said, so many more embryos now that what do you like the morals of that, ethics of that are always going to be in your sphere. And like obviously people will have different beliefs about that whole process. Is it a baby? Is it not? Da da da, whatever. But at the end of the day, you still have to make a decision. You either destroy them or let somebody else adopt them or like donate them to science. I mean, the options are heavy, big deals.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it is
it's,
heavy. And when we
yeah.
made 4 embryos in my mind, I was like, oh, we're gonna have 4 kids. Like, I was so naive. I was like, we're gonna have 4 kids. Like, this is great. 2 boys, 2 girls. Like, our family is complete. I didn't know that I was gonna have hard pregnancies. I was just like, this is perfect. We've been through our hard obstacle, and then we had AVM. My pregnancy was so hard, birth was so hard, and then we lost an embryo. And so then we had Kate, another hard pregnancy, another hard birth. And so it's like now I'm just like, okay, it could be anything. Like the fourth could be, it could not survive. It could be like another challenging pregnancy. It could be all of these things. I have no idea. And then, yeah, if I go to make, try to have more embryos, it's more shots, more injections. Going to California, there's not a lot of options here in Idaho. Dealing with that. It's so much more complicated than like we just had sex and now we're pregnant, which every time someone has that experience, it literally blows my mind. And I work in this field, right? I work in fertility. Every time someone's like, we're pregnant. And in my mind, I'm like you just had sex and then you're pregnant. Like, that's insane. Like, that's such a miracle that the body can do that all by itself without you even knowing. Because like once you have to go through all of the intricate crazy steps of doing it without, when the body's not working like that, you realize how crazy it is. And even that is such a miracle. Like the fact that my children were both created outside of our bodies, that my husband's sperm was extracted in a surgery into like a petri dish, and then they dug through it and found an immature sperm that wasn't even moving, and then put it in an egg of mine, and then grew it to a certain amount and put it in a freezer, and then pulled that out and then inserted it in my body. And those are my 2 children who are beautiful and perfect in every way. I'm like, how is that even possible? It's insane. So anyways, there's just a lot of thoughts and feelings floating around. I feel like in my sleep deprivation, I feel like I'm a philosopher who's like, whoa, what's happening? But anyways,
You're
that's
having
my life
very
update. And yeah.
You're having very like, oh, kind of abstract and eccentric and groovy thoughts because your brain's not fully online.
A theory, yeah. It's like, okay, we've been up since 5. Oh, I just want to tell this last thing before we leave. I know we went over, but so last night, Cade's in my bed with me, and this is such a blessing. You know, we tried so hard to have children. So in those moments when it's hard, I'm like, you wanted this, and this is not going to be forever. But he's like not sleeping. It's 5 o'clock. He wakes up. He's learning the sign language for milk. So he's squeezing his little hands. It's nighttime. I wear an eye mask and I pull it up and I see him like asking for milk. So I let him nurse. And he just wants to nurse forever. And then the cat comes in, and the cat crawls up onto my chest, and she's laying on my chest while he's nursing on my right boob, and she's purring. And then he's like distracted by the cat. So he gets up every 2 seconds and is trying to lay on her because he loves her so much. And he's like kissing her. And I'm trying to get him to sleep. I'm trying to nurse him back to sleep because it's 5 and I'm tired. And so the cat's there, and I can't really like push her away because cats are their own people. They do what they want. If I close the door, she'll just scratch and meow. And so she's on my chest, he's nursing, and then eventually she leaves. He wants to nurse on the other side. He keeps asking for milk. I'm like, no, there's no milk. You've had enough. It's time to go to sleep. And so he gets up and flops himself on top of me, choking me like he's laying on my chest and he's up against my neck. And he just like has to be like on top of me, like inside of me. And so then I turn away because I'm like, I really need to sleep. And so he gets up on my face and he's like smushing his face onto my face. And I'm like,
Oh.
this is so cute. But then I'm so tired. And then right like an hour later, he falls asleep. And then my daughter comes in because Mike's at the gym and she like taps on me. I finally fell asleep and she's like, Daddy's gone. What do I do? And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I should just give up now. And so it's like, there's just, there's no sleep, but it's so sweet. It's like so frustrating in the moment and also so sweet. But yeah, it's
It's like, yeah, it's the ultimate, um, what is it? I don't want to say this in a way that's going to sound like toxic positivity, but it's the ultimate like mind resiliency sign to be able to see that those moments are so sweet in the midst of it, because I've had the experience so many times where there are certain times in my life where I cannot see that's sweet. I cannot see that there's any sweetness. And then right now though, I feel like in the last like 3 years, something has really shifted in me where I'm able to see that more and more and more. But there were early years in my motherhood where I was like, I cannot believe that every human has had to be like a child that was taken care of by somebody, and like all of this BS goes on and they grow up, but like someone took care of them. Like how did this happen? So I think it's really good that you're able to recognize that even though you still have frustration through it, which is like so normal, and solidarity too, because it is really annoying. And it's just, one of my friends has an idea, or not an idea, but like we've talked about this with sleep, how it feels, it's a need. We need sleep. And when children are interrupting us for whatever reason, it's like, for me, the feeling that comes up is anger. Like that's when I get like postpartum ragey type stuff. And it's like, because it feels violating to our basic needs. It's violating to our body and and it's like, no, like there's this response sometimes that we want to have where it's like, no, stop. Like I get to do this. Like I need to do this. And so if you can somehow find the sweetness in those moments, I really applaud.
feel like I do have a lot of patience. I feel like my sister taught me that, which at the time I used to have when I was little. She pushed me into the anger moments because
Mm.
it's like I learned it then. I haven't had to learn it as much in parenthood. I've like learned these lessons in other ways, like surrender through infertility and my pregnancy journey and patience with my sister. She was more challenging when she was younger. So I see these moments almost like I've had that experience and
Hmm.
I like got through it. And so now I'm like coming, not that I'm perfect by any stretch, but yeah, I almost feel like an old woman. Like I feel like every day I'm like, will I look back on this day and like regret it or what? Like I'm on my deathbed. I'm always living from that angle. I don't know. Maybe I'm an old soul and I just remember that I don't know. It's so weird, but it is hard to actually be in it too. I'm always zooming up above like my higher self, looking down and being like, they're only little ones. But then also you're in your human experience of like the frustration and the overwhelm. And it's like always balancing that. If I had to sum my entire life down to one thing, it's that I hold lots of opposites at the same time.